In this video, I'm going to show you one of the fundamental, basic, and often repeated tasks in GIS, and that is downloading, unpacking, and loading a spatial data set. If you have looked at the folder in Blackboard under the content section called Datasets, you will see that many, if not all, of the data sets that I'm giving you to practice on during the semester are in single files called zip files. That's a single file, and what it is it's a bundle of files that have been all put together, have been clustered together and compressed into a single file for the convenience of transferring it from one person to another or in one place to another. So there they are. In order to use these, first they have to be downloaded, then they have to be unpacked, then they have to be loaded into the ArcGIS software. It's a kind of a annoying computer nerd-like process, but after you've done it a few times, you should find it almost automatic. You'll be doing it several times every week. You'll find it fairly automatic and not so burdensome. Let's go over it now. First step, the way I have my browser set up is when I see a file like this, if I single click or double click? Single click worked just fine. Click on the file and you can see at the bottom of my screen, apparently I've already done this several times in practice. My browser is set up so that when I ask a file to be downloaded from the from an internet source, it goes directly to a downloads folder, which I'll show you how I access. And I believe campus computers work the same way. Your browser, if you work somewhere else, may be set up to download a file to your desktop or to some particular device, or to give you a choice of where it gets downloaded. So that's one thing that you'll have to be aware of, depending on how, if you maybe even on campus if you use the Mozilla browser. But the way this is set up, I've downloaded the file, it's gone to my downloads folder, and I'll show you how to proceed from there. If you have trouble finding it or knowing what the heck happened, well, you can check in with me and we'll sort it out for your particular computer. Right here, and probably most likely for all of you, it's stored in a downloads folder. There it is, countries.zip. What's noticeable or notable about this is that it looks like a folder, but it has a zipper on it. That means it is a compressed, combined bunch of stuff all put into one file. It's not usable in this format. It needs to be unpacked first. So how do you do that? Well, if you see wherever this folder or wherever this file, countries.zip, for the very first one we do here, wherever it ended up, you need to click on it, double click on it, and then it will show you, it will reveal to you that inside of that zip archive is a folder called countries. A warning that this right now is not ready to use even now. The double clicking on it only showed us in File Explorer that there is a folder called countries inside of this zip archive. It is not yet unpacked. We're only looking at it and knowing what's in there. The easiest way that I've found to unpack it is to right click on it, ask for copy, and then go to the destination where it's convenient for you to store it. That may be your flash drive, it may be your desktop, or who knows where. Beware of desktops on campus. They evaporate when you log off the machine. Here in my office it does not evaporate, so I can say paste, and the countries folder which is actually uncompressed, it doesn't have a zipper indicator on it anymore, is now sitting on my desktop. So I've actually, in one process, I've unpacked it and put it someplace where I know where it is and I can go ahead and use it. So now it's on the desktop. One of the weird thing I'll show you about is to double click on this and discover that inside of this folder, which I think contains, which I'm sure you thought contained one spatial data set, the countries of the world, there's actually a group of files. And a shapefile, which is our most commonly used data format, actually is made up of a group of Windows files, each one of them serving a specific and hard to understand process or part in creating a data set. The important thing is that they all have to stay together. Conveniently, they're stored in a single folder, which can be moved around, but these all have to stay together. You can't grab one and drag it someplace else and use it. That just doesn't make sense for the way that these data are set up. You have to keep all of them together, but we've conveniently done that by having a single folder wherever you copied it to that contains them all. They do have to stay together, and then now they're entirely usable. Next step in this whole process is to start up ArcMap, the software we use, and most likely it's in a folder, a program folder called ArcGIS. ArcGIS is a whole family of software. The one that we use, we'll start with and you mostly use, is called ArcMap. So in order to start the software we're going to use, we click on ArcMap and give it a minute or two or more to load all the software, find a license, and do all that junk. Oh, that was much quicker than the first time I did it. I have here a bunch of projects that I've been working on. I'm canceling this because all I really want is a brand new empty blank map. And I'm starting to realize at this point that for all of you who are new to this and haven't done archive file or zip archives, haven't looked at all of these menus and everything else, this is overwhelming. Nice thing about these videos is you can watch it again. You can watch half of it, try something, then watch the rest of it. And I realized that in this lesson and this week, it's all new stuff and all kind of weird stuff at first. It'll be second nature in no time. Now to see that country's data set, I can just go right ahead and say add data, click on the button or the drop down, and now I just need, oh, that was too easy, it remembers. What I need to do at this point is to actually, and there's another one of those computer things that's tricky, is actually find that data set. Because I've been using this particular computer for some time, the computer, it remembers for me. It doesn't refresh every time like lab computers. It remembers all the places I have that I store data at. Your project folder, a stuff folder, all my flash drives and everything else, my desktop. It remembers that. When you do this, you may have to use this button, which is your way of telling the computer to look in a particular spot for a data set. So that's called the Connect to Folder button. It's a folder with a plus on it, and you can use that to connect to folder or to find a particular device, such as if it didn't already know that I had a desktop with GIS data on it, I would click on it and say OK. If it didn't already know that I had a, I don't even know if I have a flash drive in there right now. It can find my P drive, which is my shared drive. If it didn't already know about these, which it probably won't on a campus computer, I can tell it, please help me go to look in the desktop or on some folder or something or other. So that's a way to do it. And since I've already done that, I can say go look at my desktop, a folder called countries, and there it is. And ArcMap has the um, power to look at a cluster of files and recognize they all go together and they all make one single file, and therefore I can click on them and add them. And there's the countries of the world, and we're not going to even talk about symbology very much, just to show you that now that we have this data set, we can do most anything we want. I might as well do something very quickly, just to show you that the good thing about how hard you work to get this thing started, get the software started, get a data set and show it, is that now you can really do anything you want with it. And one simple thing you can do is to do the symbology. For instance, symbolize the countries by their population, where the greener it is, the more people live in that country, and the redder it is, the fewer people live in that country. So it's really kind of a dumb map, but it does show that you can control you can control your symbology and a million more things, and that's the extent of this video. So just in review, there's a bunch of tricky little steps along the way, but essentially you download a data set, you unpack it, then you load it into ArcMap, and there's another video that shows how you actually take a map such as I've changed the colors and zap it into a PDF so that you can give it to somebody like your teacher who can give you a grade on it. So that's the extent of this video. And